Action, I don't understand why you take away the preview when you start recording. Seems like the time when you would want that on here. Anyway, hello and welcome, everyone. It's Sunfish, and it's, predictably, I'm getting on camera because there's apparently going to be a Smash reveal tonight. So good thing I wasn't doing anything else today, because we have some items, to go over. Alright, so let's talk about the current landscape of Smash Brothers predictions, which, to my knowledge, maybe it's just what the YouTube recommended is feeding to me, but it seems like discussion has been kind of dead so. At least I haven't seen very much of it. I'm sure that it's been going on, but like, again, other things have sort of taken priority, and it hasn't been as relevant, or at least like on the forefront of people's minds. I think everybody's kind of like, yeah, okay, everything's delayed, everything's late, whatever. We'll just go back to playing Animal Crossing and Among Us. But the, I realized I did fail to comment at all on the last two reveals and what those may have kind of indicated going forward, if anything. I will also say I haven't been paying all that much attention to like interviews or like stuff that Sakurai has said, or the little clues and tidbits and breadcrumbs that people find. Like, I just have been kind of out of the loop. So I'm talking out of my sleeve here. That's why I have long sleeves, because I have a lot to talk about today. So Min Min, if you had asked me, like, at the very first trailer with the Inklings, who I thought would be in the game at that point, my first answer would have been, besides Inklings, obviously, somebody from ARMS, duh, like, it's a fighting game, it just came out, it's relevant. I wasn't sure about how popular it was or wasn't. It seemed like it was maybe about on par with the first Splatoon, in terms of popularity, just like from what I kind of gathered. But, we didn't end up getting an ARMS character in the base game, so I was just like, okay, I guess it wasn't popular, they didn't want to do anything with it, I don't know. My suspicion is they, had technical difficulties, or they couldn't figure out how to get an ARMS fighter to work. And so they held off on releasing until they had it perfected. And again, Sakurai may have talked about this already, I have no idea. But, that was sort of my impression, is like, this maybe we would have gotten in the base game had it been, maybe if they hadn't run into difficulties with it. There's also just like, the stand that I use to put my laptop on for these recordings is very wobbly, so I apologize. There's also the fact that, these reveals have to be timed in a certain way, and that is something that I want to talk about. Hopefully I'll remember to talk about at some point. But yeah, Min Min, I honestly, that reveal dropped and I was like, huh, okay. It's a first party character. I think it's interesting that we had back-to-back first parties with, Byleth is second party technically, but both Nintendo characters between Byleth and Min Min. So we didn't quite have that starting with a bang kind of thing. And then Steve was a surprise, kind of. Yes and no. I know a lot of people had predicted it. I wasn't one of those people who was like, Minecraft is never going to get into Smash Brothers. Because I think that's silly. Why wouldn't it? It's perfectly suitable. It's perfectly easy to animate. Am I right? So that's probably was a consideration. That's probably, I would assume, why we got Steve when we did. Why he was earlier in the mix. But conceptually, of course, he's a lot stranger than most of the characters we've gotten. So, in terms of timing with characters, that I think there's a lot of factors that have to go into it. like when we get characters on the roster, like, or when we get reveals, like relative to other reveals, it's got to be a combination of like development, how easy or difficult relatively is this character to develop, and also like the timing of the reveal itself. Is this going to tie into anything promotional? Is this going to, you know, relative to the other reveals, how are they kind of spaced out? So like, if you look at the first Fighters Pass, we had, oh my gosh, Joker, big reveal, big like surprise, not the last surprise, but the first surprise. Yeah, big surprise, but you know, that was obviously a big deal. That was at the Game Awards. Next was Hero and Banjo-Kazooie, and those were both tied in to E3. And, you know, obviously they wanted to pack in some good ones into E3. And then there was Terry, who wasn't as, like, whoa, huge reveal kind of thing. I know there were a lot of people who were excited, but it wasn't the kind of thing where, like, people were really rooting for him to get in. I didn't know who he was. I hadn't heard his name until, like, the day before people were leaking, like, oh, it's an SNK character, and then they were like, yeah, it's gotta be Terry Bogard if it's anybody. Or, you know, there were a couple other characters, but, so, you know, that was a little more of a dark horse, like, out of left field. I think kind of a passion pick for Sakurai as well. And then Byleth at the end was, like, kind of ending the first Fighters Pass with a bit of a whimper, but, like, they also revealed, oh, we're doing another one, so don't worry. And that fell on the same, at the same time as they announced the DLC for Three Houses. So, and I think there might have been another Fire Emblem announcement at that point. Was that when they announced FE Expo, which didn't happen? But anyway, you know, it might have been a Heroes thing. I don't remember. I feel like there was another announcement that happened that day, but suffice to say, Byleth tied into a promotional kind of thing. Min I don't think did. Steve, I know there was like a Minecraft convention or like panel or presentation or something that happened around the time he was announced. But I think that's more just like, okay, we're gonna announce it around this time, not like, okay, we have, like, relative to the other reveals, we have to, like, do this one at this point in time. It was more like, are we gonna announce them in September or October kind of thing. So, and also, of course, development factors into all of this as well, I assume. So, in terms of my thoughts on the characters in general, like, and how other characters might exist relative to them, they're interesting. You know, I think playing with them a little bit, you know, Steve is very conceptually interesting, and unique for sure. I would say I don't know that they're gonna get that, like, experimental conceptual with other fighters, but it seems like we've gotten a bunch that are like that. So, you know, that's, I do think it'll kind of be a mix, but, you know, it is worth noting, like, that's a thing, that's been a thing. We've got all sorts of new characters with meters and, you know, weird little mechanics and stuff like that, so, that's not necessarily, like, indicative of anything, I don't think. It does feel like there's more than just the standard amount of fighting, there more than the usual fighter packed into each of those characters. Min I was surprised having, like, the different weapon types and stuff, and you can switch between those. So, but I don't know necessarily that this leans one way or another in terms of other characters that we might get. The only thing that dropped that was kind of a surprise and kind of like a, I would say pretty hard deconfirm, was getting the Travis Touchdown Me costume. I would have put Travis at, like, top 5, definitely gonna get in. especially with No More Heroes 3 coming out, and that was just like, whoa, okay, I guess we're not doing this. Like, I felt bad because I remember there was like a 2008 interview around the time of Brawl that Suda51 was, saying, like, I'd really love to get Travis in Smash. And this just I feel bad almost, but, like, may the best character win, I guess. I hate to say it, but every deconfirm of a character who's not one of my personal favorites is like, okay, could be inching closer then. So, it's a bit of a zero-sum game, a four-sum game, I guess. But condolences to all the No More Heroes fans who are sorely disappointed by that reveal. My heart does go out to you. It's rough. And I really thought he was going to get in. But that's where we are at this point. Now, in terms of... I'll move here to talking about, like, characters that I think might get picked or characters that I want to get picked. So in terms of my, like, I'm not necessarily hoping for these characters, but I think that they're altogether likely. Definitely it's a possibility. Sora, I've said before, I thought Sora was too expensive. Just in terms of the licensing and working him in and the music especially, that was like a big deal. Because I think the music's a bigger deal than nobody ever talks about music when they're talking about Smash reveals and Smash Fighters. But like, that's kind of a big thing. And I think if it definitely sweetens the deal, I would say. And Kingdom Hearts has awesome music, and Yoko Shimomura is like a series veteran in terms of doing Smash Brothers orchestrations. She's done some really good ones for Smash. I love her Cass's theme remix. That one's really cool. So like, she would definitely be on board to do stuff, but it's less that and more like getting the licensing, anytime you have vocalists, anytime you have songs that are sung, that gets thorny. I think the one thing that I hadn't considered before, but that might be like a point in Kingdom Hearts' favor in terms of the music licensing, is the vocal songs are sung by the same person in Japanese and in English. So but that person is Utada Hikaru, and I'm sure her royalties are going to be like higher than most other people you might pay for vocal versions of songs. So who knows? I don't know, how things would pan out with like the Disney characters, if they would make an appearance, if there would be references to them. I think you probably could scrub them out enough, and just have like Riku and Kairi and like the Kingdom Hearts original characters, or even, Final Fantasy characters maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure how that would work. But like, so many people want Sora. It's, I think if we're gonna get one more anime sword boy, I thought it was gonna be Travis, who admittedly is a little like, more of a subversion of that type, but if it's not Travis, then, I think Sora's definitely a possibility, and a pretty distinct one. And did you know that Sakurai's game company is called Sora Limited? So it's facts that Sora is going to get into Smash Brothers. It was there from the beginning. This has been my game theory for today, and that's how it is, and goodbye. So yeah, Sora. Next up, Crash Bandicoot. I'm not like, okay, if it's Crash, I almost would bet money, I would guarantee that as soon as I saw the trailer, I would come around to Crash. In theory, the same exact thing happened with Pac-Man. I was like, really, like, I hated the idea of Pac-Man being in the game for some reason. But then, like, as soon as I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, this is cool. And Pac-Man's actually one of my mains now, so I really like him. But, you know, I'm sure I would come around on Crash. I don't like his character design. Why not Spyro? What happened to Spyro? Why Crash over Spyro? Spyro is cooler. We don't have, like, I don't think any, like, four-legged dragons in the roster. But we do have, like, a, you know, cartoon animal with attitude already, so I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of Crash. You know, they could make it work. And I'm sure if I saw the trailer and I'm sure if I played as him, I would come around. I'm not anti most characters. There's some that I would just feel like is a little bit too, you know, giving into a vocal minority of fans who are, like, I don't want to say delusional, but just, like, if you're so far into a bandwagon or, like, a cause or something that you've been a part of and you've been really rooting for a long time, you can kind of go far enough into that rabbit hole / echo chamber that it is hard for you to imagine an outside perspective to it. And I may very well be that way with Phoenix Wright, but, you know, I'm talking like Gino and, who's the other one that people, Waluigi. Yeah, like, I would be a little bit like, okay, who put you up to this, Sakurai? Like, you know, you didn't have to do this just for the people who kept screaming at you on Twitter. And I you know, I know it's not all X fans are like this, but, you know, I think there's the people who really go all in for a character sometimes can be. Anyway, if you know you haven't been obnoxious, I'm not talking about you. You know in your heart what you act like, so don't take that as, like, an accusation or anything. I'm done talking about that. And I'm done talking about Crash. That's all I have to say about Crash. Doomslayer, is another one that could happen. You know, I don't have a lot of thoughts on it. I don't have a lot to say. My only thought in terms of likelihood for him, first of all, as a Game Awards announcement, same with Crash, same with Sora. I think those would be very, like, big audience pleasers, you know. Those would be things that would go over well to a general broad audience. And this is another reason why, like, you know, characters like Gino at the very least, don't expect them at an event like this. That may be true, again, of Phoenix Wright. I don't know. I do think Ace Attorney's more mainstream than a Mario RPG that came out in 1995, but 5, 4, 6? Around then, anyway. But again, I'm not allowed to talk about Gino anymore. No more. That's I'm done. Maybe, I hope. Yeah, anyway, Doom guy. I don't know very much about Doom. I know it's, like, kind of a quintessential, like, early first-person shooter, early online play, kind of, which would be kind of ironic considering the state of Smash's online play, but, you know, it could happen. Likewise, online play just made me think of, like, Overwatch. We could get an Overwatch character, we could get Tracer, you know, I could see that happening. And maybe even just a Mii costume that could work. In terms of Mii costumes, that's like a whole its own set of speculations, but so I'll talk briefly about that. I think that's all of the big fighters, like, who I don't necessarily have a personal attachment to, but I think could be likely. Now, I might think of more just because my brain is full of holes and things fall through easily, so I might just, like, think of one randomly that I would put in. Ring Fit Adventure. That is the other. They put spirits in, but I don't know how set in stone that necessarily is, considering Min Min. I think with first parties it's a little squishier. than with third parties, but you know, yeah, I could see it. It would be, I guess, kind of a Persona-ish, like Joker meets Wii Fit Trainer. Ring Fit Adventure sold really well, especially, you know, when people couldn't go to gyms, like, but I think that was kind of an accident, you know, and I don't think it would have sold as well if it were not for circumstances. So, yeah, I think that's my last, like, you know, take it or leave it kind of pick. I want to talk about Mii costumes real quick. So Mii costumes, traditionally, that's where we get, like, the indie games and characters and, like, a little more, you know, this character isn't popular enough to get to be a fighter, or maybe not, like, big enough to be a fighter, but we want to kind of throw him a bone a little bit. So also kind of for newer characters, too, that haven't really stood the test of time yet. I know, well, what about Fire? You know, I know, guys, I know. I'm a giant hypocrite. Look, I have the audacity to wear this to a Smash Brothers video. So I get it. All right. I'm poo-pooing Gino and I was excited about Byleth. We're all hypocrites when it comes to this kind of thing. Like, we're all biased. Just get over it. All right. Let me get off my little soapbox there. Okay, so a new contender into the Mii costume scene that I think not a lot of people necessarily had been thinking about, but is definitely popular, definitely on people's minds nowadays, is Supergiant Games. So those are the people who make Hades and Transistor, Bastion, Pyre. I think that's all of them. There might be another one. But like the Hades is super, super popular right now. And I could very easily see those character designs are very, like, I think they're all humanoid, or most of them are at any rate, but they're very distinctive, they're very cool, flashy. Like, I could see any of those getting worked into a character design. And, you know, they could go back and do the character from Transistor. Is her name Red? I forget. Anyway, main character from Transistor or main character from Bastion or any of those. You know, I could easily see those being Mii costumes, and I think that would be, like, that would hit, like, right when the iron's hot there, for Hades especially. So yeah, for sure could see that happening. In terms of other, like, indie games, we still haven't gotten any Hollow Knight rep. That could be a fighter. I know that's a pretty big one. Same with Dark Souls, I guess. Like, yeah, we could get a Dark Souls rep, maybe. I don't know. Like, I'll say it so I can take the credit if that ends up being true. You know, in terms of other Mii costumes, I would really hope that we'd get the house leaders from Fire Emblem. You know, obviously they're, like, in the background of their stages. I had wanted them to be actually playable, but I would take Mii costumes. Make, like, they could have, like, why am I blanking? Claude would be a gunner, and Dimitri would be a swordsman, and Edelgard would be a brawler. So, that's my theory, my Fire Emblem theory crafting for the day. Yeah, I'm blanking on other indie characters. Can we get a Shovel Knight Mii costume, please? We got Bomberman, and he's an assist trophy. So do a Shovel Knight, please. Get Shoves. And Shield Knight. Both of them. Just all the Mii costumes. Yeah, whatever. Development's free. You don't have to work or anything, right, guys? I'm sorry, that was rude. Okay. So let's talk about also now who I want to be fighters. Not who is likely, but who I just special want. I've talked about this before, but I'm going to talk about it again. So obviously, my man, Phoenix Wright over here, I will go into more detail about that in a bit. But I'll talk about some other characters who I think would be very cool. And I could see it happening. So Chell from Portal I've talked about. I think that would be a super cool Game Awards reveal. That would be, like, very out of left field, very, like, oh my gosh, yeah, Portal exists, I forgot about that. Everybody in that audience for sure will, well, okay. If there was an audience, a live audience, everybody there would have played Portal. Everybody's played Portal is my point. Like, it's one of those games that sort of transcended, like, everything. I know Valve can be a butt with things, but, like, I also, you know, I don't know. Does any of that matter at this point? Like, you know, they're also not doing a ton to necessarily promote their own games, so if they can get some cross-promotion on a console that's actually doing well, like, not that Steam isn't ever doing well, but, you know, I think, I know that games that I have collected dust in my Steam library, because I don't like playing on my laptop, I have purchased again on the Switch, because I just like being able to play, like, a handheld, so, you know, yeah, anyway, I'm not qualified necessarily to talk on that point, but I think Shell would be cool. I think, a Portal stage would be super cool. I think that would be a very conceptually difficult character to make work, and so I could see them waiting for a while to polish her and get all that ironed out, if she's gonna be in it. Another character I think would be cool, and I have my suspicions about, like, the seeds have been planted for this one, and that's the prince from Katamari Damacy. Again, a game series everybody knows. It's, even if you haven't played it, it's super, like, the iconography and the music and everything, like, everybody knows. And very distinctive music, very distinctive visuals, like, it hits that freshness quota so intensely, like, and I think that's something that's important, you know. We, as much as people complain about, like, oh, another anime swordsman, and, you know, while some of the fighters have leaned into that, I think anytime that they can make, like, a fresh, new seeming kind of character who looks different, character who plays different, the more somebody has going for them in that regard, the better. I think the prince is, like, just oozing originality and freshness, and everything about that game is so, like, you know, unique and unlike anything else. So a Katamari stage would be fantastic. The music selection would be great. You have really some interesting moveset potential. Like, kind of a grappler-ish character, like if he's rolling around a Katamari, but again, that would be conceptually probably difficult to implement. So, it could be that any of these characters or all of these characters have been in development for a long time. It seems like they kind of hinted that that might have been the case for Steve. I think that was the case for Min Min. So it could very well be that all these characters they had been working on for a while, and it was just they have literally released them in the order that, you know, with some variation, in the order that they've been able to finish them. So, you know, maybe with some breaks here and there, but I don't think it would be a coincidence if the most conceptually out there characters also took the longest to get in the game. So yeah, I think, and the other thing, the reason why I talked about, like, the seeds being planted, is something interesting that I've noticed that I haven't heard anybody talk about at this point. So we talk about spirits, like deconfirming or confirming characters or whatever, and while that isn't a hard and fast rule, I think the absence of spirits can be conspicuous and can be, like, I hone in more on spirits not being there than spirits being there, you know what I mean? So, like, Pac-Man has a taunt where he holds out his hand and a little, like, sprite of a Namco character appears there. So there's, like, Dig Dug and Nappy and Galaga and, like, classic retro arcade Namco titles. But he also has one where he holds it out and it's the prince. There's no other reference to Katamari Damacy in Smash Brothers. That's the only one, is just in Pac-Man's taunt. So, and Namco is one of the co-developers of the game. So they could throw those in if they wanted to. They could, you know, fill up as many Katamari references as they liked. But they didn't. So, I think that might be telling. I think that's very interesting that there is no Katamari presence whatsoever. But like they made a little nod to it there. So I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying it's interesting. But yeah, I just think it's more likely than we think, maybe. I feel like I had a third character. Is it just Phoenix, right? Amaterasu, I think, has potential, but like she would get in his way, so I'm obligated to not want Amaterasu in the game. But if she was in the game, then I would be okay with it, and it would be pretty cool. Is there another first party character? I talked about the Ring Fit adventure. I think that's it. I think that's it. Oh, okay, yeah, another first party. Yeah, I remember who it was. Because of like Age of Calamity, Breath of the Wild 2 and all that. Impa, I feel like has been conspicuously absent as well from the roster in terms of like Zelda characters. I feel like the Zelda lineup in Smash like has for a while been missing just somebody. Like we've gotten a bunch of Links, and you know, the different iterations of Zelda and Ganondorf, they seem, and Link for that matter, like they seem to put like their creative energy into changing those up every so often. But it does kind of feel like Zelda is such a big series and like we should have someone else there. The problem is that it's got so many characters and so many different, like representatives and races and all this stuff that it's hard to just kind of narrow it down. So you look at recurring characters, and Impa is like kind of the last recurring Zelda character who isn't playable in Smash. And some of the characters aren't even recurring. Sheik is not a recurring character, but she's there. You know, and then the different versions of Link. But Impa is a recurring character. We've seen her in different incarnations. And while she would be similar to Sheik, I think they could differentiate her enough. I like playing characters like that. I like the fast, like, you know she would have a dive kick. She would for sure have a dive kick. And if a character has a dive kick, I'm like, at the very least, like, I like me some dive kicks. So I'm aware of the game Dive Kick, by the way, so yes, thank you. But yeah, all right, so let's just get into what I'm here for, what I hope you're here for. I hope I remember to timestamp it so that you can just skip all the other crap. And let's talk about Phoenix Wright. So in terms of likelihood at this particular opportunity for a reveal, I'm torn. I'm of two minds because Ace Attorney's not like the biggest series in the world. I'm not necessarily sure how much that matters, but you know, if you compare Phoenix Wright to a character like Sora or but the Doom guy, or Crash Bandicoot, like, those are all bigger characters for sure. And so at a very general audiences kind of event, I've made the argument, like, you're not going to see a super niche character, but Ace Attorney is kind of in that middle ground where everybody's heard of it, but not everybody's played it. You know, it fewer people have played it for sure than have heard about it. It's a little bit harder to get into, I would say, than something like Portal. Even though I think it's as games go pretty accessible. You know, just because it's not like a timing based kind of game. It's not really skill based. You know, so it's kind of hard to gauge what the actual popularity of it is, especially given how many times it's been re-released and everything. I think new people are trying it all the time. It's one of those where people are like, yeah, I'll get around to it, and then eventually they get around to it. But I will say what it has going for it is everybody knows. Everybody would... I keep goofing what side it's on. Everybody would recognize, you know, and you see it, like, referenced. I was watching that Netflix documentary High Score about, like, the history of video games, and there's a point where they're talking about the court case of Nintendo versus Universal about King Kong and Donkey Kong and the copyright, you know, stuff. And, like, they animated the lawyer, you know, doing the objection point, and it's like, it's so saturated into pop culture, like, just that, like, silhouette, you know, that I swear there was another thing where it was, like, a pretty mainstream sort of show or movie or something where I was like, that's for sure an Ace Attorney reference. It's like, at this point, I don't know if I've gaslit myself into thinking, like, anytime there's an objection in media that it's, oh, I remember what it was. It was Key and Peele. But he did the point. And I think if it's just an objection, because I took mock trial and I know that you're only supposed to stand and just, like, say it. But you do stand up. Also watch Law and Order. This is what they do. Nobody points. That's over dramatic. But if they do point and they object, in my book, that's an Ace Attorney reference. Am I wrong? Have I gaslit myself? Almost certainly. But, you know, I like to dream. What I'm saying is it's super iconic. Everybody knows, like, that character, that even if they couldn't name the game or name the character, everybody's seen Phoenix Wright. So, you know, it would be a point of recognition for people. And also, like, I don't think people have any strong feelings for or against his inclusion in Smash. I think the only really arguments that I've seen against or comments that are kind of, like, anti-Phoenix Wright all boil down to, like, I don't think they could make it work. Which, if you're still making that argument in... We'll talk about that aspect of it. So I'm just checking my notes again. I feel like I got off topic. I don't want to have to edit this, but I'm gonna have to edit out my dang old pauses. Okay. I was talking about the audience type thing. And the other reason I'm a little torn is, again, because of my whole, if you go to watch my other Phoenix Wright video, the whole aspect of, like, the Game Awards venue and how that ties into, like, the Ace Attorney lore, kind of. You know, I made, it's a little conspiratorial, but, I did make that connection, so I was kind of like, okay, if it's a matter of, like, the venue is important, in a way that they utilize the venue for the Joker reveal, that could be a point in favor of Phoenix Wright. I think again, even in terms of like the creative, how do we do a reveal that's like venue based, even though it's going to be digital, live streamed, and all that. I do think like GLaDOS coming over the loudspeaker would work way better. I think like Chell would be the perfect Game Awards reveal, I think. But I think also she's a much longer shot than Phoenix. Yeah. Anyway, the other element that's kind of come into the fore regarding Ace Attorney is that hadn't been in play for a very long time, and it's pretty exciting that it is when all that data was leaked from Capcom. One of the things that was leaked were screenshots and notes about a localized version of Daigyakusen Saiban, which is the like prequel games to the Ace Attorney series. It's about Phoenix's grandfather or great-grandfather, and it's set in London, and the games had come out for 3DS and had never been localized, and it was assumed for a while that was due to copyright shenanigans involving the Arthur Conan Doyle estate, because they just, boy, did they love their lawsuits. And while it would have been fun for Ace Attorney to get sued, like that would have been like a crazy fun meta kind of event to happen, ARG perhaps, they got around it because they're just gonna call him Herlock Sholmes apparently, which is the best thing that how did it take them that long for one, but like, it's just so good. So long story short, we're probably, if those leaks are to be believed, we are getting a localized version of those games. And at least like a new version is gonna be on Switch, obviously, like, and I think other consoles as well, but and then they're gonna be releasing like a compilation of the Apollo Justice trilogy as well. By the way, if it turns out that for that reason we get Apollo as the fighter rather than Phoenix, people would be so pissed. I would be so stoked. I love Apollo. Like, that would be just excellent. If he's an alt also, very good. I applaud that, and that would be super good. Everybody would want Edgeworth, everybody would, or even like Ryonosuke from DGS, but like, Apollo's the other main character, okay? Like, the other two only got 2 games each, but Apollo kind of got, he got a whole trilogy. I'm not gonna argue this. We're moving on. But we do stan Apollo in this house. Yeah, that's like a new aspect that's kind of come into play here, and it makes it entirely more likely that anytime they can do kind of like a dual, like, this character's going to be in Smash. Also, if you like this character in Smash, might we recommend this other thing that you can buy. That happened with Dragon Quest. They were really like ramping up promotions for that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that like you can have a character who doesn't have a corresponding game coming out. And I don't think, like, obviously people looked at release dates for big games like Doom and No More Heroes 3 and stuff like that, and were like, oh, we gotta get that character. And, you know, the day came and went, or in Travis Touchdown's case, he got deconfirmed. So it's like, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but I think it's like something to consider. So to wrap things up, more kind of as a like prediction than anything, just in case they show footage, in case my word or my lips to God's ears, it's too late for anything to change, but if it is Phoenix, I want to lay down some predictions and talk about moveset generally. You know, in case they show footage from his gameplay or anything. So a lot of people, like, the primary argument that I will hear against the idea of Phoenix Wright's inclusion is he wouldn't make for a good fighter. It's a variation on that. Like, they couldn't make him work for Smash. And from the angle of, like, but he's a lawyer. You can't use the law in a fighting game. He got a suit that he wears. Like, I'm gonna say it. I'm not gonna try and be gentle with people's opinions. That's stupid. Like, it's frankly dumb. And, you know, take a look at this game, guys. We got, let's see who we got in here. We've got a little flat guy, who attacks with, like, a bell and, you know, hot oil, I guess. That's pretty effective. We got a little fairy balloon. We got, well, what else? A little tiny man who makes carrots do everything for him. We got, this is just a toy. This is, I mean, he's not like a real robot, like a cool robot. He's just a toy who picks stuff up and puts it over here. Need I remind you also, we have a dog. Just a dog and a duck. You can play as poultry in this game. And you're telling me that Phoenix Wright can't get in because he's a lawyer. I just wanted to give that argument what it was due. Also, I don't have amiibos of them out right now, but, like, Isabelle and the Wii Fit trainer and the villager and, like, come on, guys. Really? Like, come on. So that's not an argument. A more cogent argument that I've heard is, well, they already had Phoenix in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and either I can't see them making that moveset work for Smash Brothers, or Sakurai won't want to do the same exact thing as that game. And I don't know that those necessarily hold water either. Like, you know, we've got Ryu and Terry, and they do the same thing that they do in their fighting games, so, more or less. So, like, I don't super know that holds water, but at any rate, I think it's very easy if you actually know the Ace Attorney series and you have a sense of that character. I think it's super easy to create a moveset that is distinct from the Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 moveset. What are words? Sansake did a video, and I'll link it, on, like, a potential moveset for Smash. It's great. It's so well researched and, like, animated, and, like, there's concept art for everything, and it's long, but it's delightful to watch. So if you're at all interested in Phoenix Wright for Smash, like, give that a watch for sure. I had actually come up with a move. I started watching it, and then I was like, I want to try and come up with my own moveset and then see how much of it is similar. And they weren't really all that similar. I was surprised. Like, you know, it ended up being pretty different in terms of the directions that we went with it. So the direction that I went with mine, I'm not going to, like, go into detail and go through all the moves or anything, but I'll say a few of them. But basically, it centers around a central idea, which is something that I think a lot of the fighters do. Like, Sakurai likes to be able to say, like, we centered this character around the idea of blank. I think that's kind of a game development philosophy that Nintendo in general tends to have, where they'll have sort of a theme or a premise or, like, a word or term or something, and just kind of go based on that, and, like, they have a very thematic approach to a lot of their development. And I think that's true of Smash Fighters as well. And especially more and more, they've grown more kind of like conceptual in that sense. So the concept for Phoenix Wright is turnabout. Gyakuten Saiban is turnabout court, is how it's translated. So the way I see it, I think that Phoenix Wright should/will be based around this idea of turnabout. So he's going to be a counter-based fighter. And more defensive, obviously, being a defense attorney. And this is gonna, this whole idea of like taking his opponent's moves and using them to his advantage. So this will come in the form of actual counters, like counter moves that he has. But also, I liked the idea that he would use. So in Ace Attorney, if you're not familiar with it, the whole concept of like defense and prosecutor, defense and offense are kind of taken literally a lot of the time. So a lot of the prosecutors will like actually do violence to the defense, and it's played for laughs and everything, but like the majority of the prosecutors that you come across will like have weapons essentially, and they will use them. So I liked the idea of, if the theme is turnabout, if the theme is Phoenix using his enemies' attacks against them, then he could also kind of do that with the attacks used against him by the various prosecutors in the series. So he could use things like Francisca's whip, or Godot's coffee mug, or Naida's prayer beads. I like the idea also, what his side special in my moveset is he sends Taka the Hawk out. Totally biased, Black Quill's my favorite prosecutor, but I like the idea of kind of like it's almost like, it would almost be like an aerial Pikmin, kind of, or like Din's Fire meets Pikmin kind of thing. So, but again, more about like paralyzing the opponent and causing, dang old webcam goes out of focus, causing kind of minimal like building damage over time. So stuff like that, I like the idea of, and it expands the moveset by quite a bit. Just like working decisive evidence from the series into Phoenix's moveset would be really cool, I think. Maybe a little bit in poor taste, but when's that stopped us? So, stuff like the Thinker statue, or that would be in pretty poor taste, actually. I'd have to get Mia's permission on that one. There's all sorts of stuff that they could use. So I'll go over my the ideas that I have for the specials just real quick. I talked about Taka. Another one that I had for his recovery move is he uses the Steel Samurai balloon from Turnabout Goodbyes in the first game, and like holds onto the air tank, and literally like it like blasts him up above the stage, and then he can like let go of the air tank and it'll drop, and the balloon will keep going. That's a very iconic case. That's like kind of arguably the most important case in at least the first game, if not the series in general. But if you remember a case, it's probably going to be that one. And just having the Steel Samurai in there in general, I think, is kind of a must. So those are the side B. Up B. Regular B is, this is kind of the important one. It's the court record. So this is the closest I think it gets to the Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom, and so this is, it would be like the Oil Panic bucket from Game & Watch, and like a literal counter move or pocket, I guess would be a similar one as well. So it's kind of a combo between those. And so Phoenix will like catch in the court record projectile moves that are used against him. and he turns those into, depending on the strength, depending on the power, either a hold it, an objection, or take that. And whether or not the actual bubbles come out of that, I don't know how they would make that work. I'm not as big a fan of that idea as I know a lot of other people are, but it may just be kind of an inevitability. But the general idea is like he is turning projectile attacks into like these abstract, like, bursts of logic, I guess you might say. Maybe they might have to be bubbles. I'm not really sure what they'd be otherwise. Oh, no, I didn't. I know what they'd be. They turn into pieces of evidence. That was it. Yeah, I had written this down. So that's where you'd get like the thinker statue is like if, I'm trying to think of like a really, like Simon Belmont's axe comes at you and he catches it. Phoenix catches it in the court record. He would turn that into a piece of evidence from Ace Attorney, basically. So he wouldn't throw back the exact thing like with the villager's pocket move, but it would turn into like his own kind of item. So that is like, whose move is that like? Oh, no, yeah, I was thinking it like Pac-Man's neutral B. So it's a combination of a bunch of existing moves, basically, but the whole idea is turnabout, countering, you get the gist. And then the down B is another counter, but this one's for melee attacks. And so it's important that we have the court record. And this could also maybe be represented as like a, the sort of meter type thing that we see with Steve and Joker and all sorts of characters. But the important thing is that he has one for projectiles and one for melee. So the melee counter is down B, and that's Mr. Hat. So the like wooden Trucy's little like wooden puppet assistant. But Mr. Hat comes out and like takes the hit. And if you use it and there's no move to counter, then he acts as a back shield basically for a few seconds. So if Mr. Hat takes a hit, then he wraps it up in his cloak, and that becomes a piece of evidence as well. So this way, even if you're fighting like Marth or Ganondorf or somebody who's like melee only, and no items, then Phoenix can still collect their moves and turn them into evidence. And you can do this with like stage hazards, I'm sure, and stuff like that. So, and then the final smash, this is where the Magatama comes in. Of course, the Magatama's got to be in the moveset somewhere. So basically the way it would work is, the Psyche locks would come down over the opponent and lock them in place, and then either we could do like a short animation kind of final smash like the Belmonts, for example, or it could be like Bayonetta's where you get the opportunity to just like go after whoever it is. So, and like if the lock breaks, then it's like an instant KO, or it does a lot of damage. Yeah, I just wanted to like throw some of those ideas out there. I think they're fun. If it turns out that we get a totally different character today, cool. Like I'll try and get some of this stuff articulated better and like maybe drawn, maybe do some concept art for it. I have a whole spreadsheet with like different tabs and everything. Like I've put a lot of thought into this. So, and it's just I don't remember to share it because fish brain. So we'll see. Hopefully, I'll have impetus. I wish they would announce this kind of thing like a little bit ahead of time. I guess they don't want people to leak stuff, but I would appreciate having who am I kidding? I'd wait until the last minute anyway. It doesn't matter. It's just, I'm cursed to do this no matter what. Alright, so I think that'll do it. Whatever happens, again, be nice to each other. Don't give people crap about the characters they like or wanted. If people are disappointed, that's okay. If excuse me, if you are disappointed, don't, like, be salty at other people who got what they wanted. We're literally going to forget about this in at least a week, or at most a week. I don't know. We're going to forget about it. It's 2020. Who knows? Like, for all we know, we could, like, a Godzilla could come up from the sea tomorrow, and that's going to be on everybody's mind. Everybody's going to be saying, hey, it's Godzilla for Smash Time, because he appeared and, you know, took a bite out of Tokyo Tower or something. So they did copyright claim that one Godzilla mod, though, right? Didn't they? Okay. I have to readjust everything. That's it. It's Godzilla time for Smash. He's gonna be in the game, and if you think he's too big, then people said that about Ridley, so I don't know. Godzilla is very big, but, you know, anything can happen in Super Smash Brothers. So that's the note I will end on. And no, but really be nice to each other. I'll tell your mom if you're not. So be good on social media, please. And I'm always so afraid I'm gonna forget something on an outro. I just need to leave. I'm going to avail you of... That's not the word. Bye. Make me leave. You've already closed this. Who am I kidding? Bye.